Hello everyone and welcome back to episode 3 of Soldancer Plays Castlevania Symphony of the Night. We're going to pick up right where we left off. This is the save point that we wound up at the very beginning of the game, right after Death stole all of our goodies. And we looped back around here, you can see through the map, kind of made a big circle coming through the marble corridor. I'm actually going to, instead of going back up the way I came, let's cut through the alchemy lab and take that slow elevator. These guys are fun, bloody zombies. That's some of my ghosty pal. It's rated T for teen, folks. Yup. Nah, actually, most of this game's pretty innocuous. Konami did actually make some adjustments to some of the sprites when they brought this stateside. Mostly editing out small bits of revealing clothing and or nudity. I mean, the sprites are so tiny, it's kind of hard to really notice or care too much about, but, you know, whatever. We sensitive Americans with our frail sensibilities when it comes to things like cleavage and nudity, but whatever, it's fine. The game is still amazing. It doesn't affect at all how it plays. It's still absolutely fabulous. So I'm actually going to need to do the skeleton trick here to be able to get to that elevator. So let's see if I can pull this off. Yeah, get him to fall on the switch. Jump up here. Oh, gotta take out this friggin' Axe Knight. Yeah, I need to take out the Axe Knight first. Okay. Maybe I should have just gone all the way back up through the marble corridor. Maybe that would have been faster. But no, I decided to take the long way. I'd go the extra mile for you, my viewers. Okay, so right when it gets about halfway down to the top. There we go. Alright, first try. Ish. I don't count having to kill the Axe Knight first. Okay, let's take this elevator back up. Slow elevator. So slow. Just press up again. Yeah, there's a few elevators in the game. There's one in particular you actually have to unlock later on, and when I mentioned in episode 2 about you'll see a very, very not slow elevator later. Yeah, I don't even think I'll need to point that one out to you. You'll be able to see it. It's pretty hard to miss. Okay, so you can see now we're all the way back here, just past this Lager and Gabon fight at the top of the alchemy chamber, alchemy lab. Oop. 3 hits. There we go. And level up. Level ups give you a little bit of a stat boost. So your strength, constitution, intelligence, and luck typically go up by a point or 2. I don't know if it's set per level. I think it probably is. I haven't really paid too much attention to it. Like I said before, just numbers going up is good. You want higher numbers. But you also do get a little bit of an HP and MP boost. It's small compared to getting the actual heart max up and life max up power-ups. So you still always want to be looking out for those. Oh, no, I want to keep my holy water. Yeah. I have a tendency to just hit every candle I come across, even if it's not the best. It's just sort of... Oh, I got poisoned. Oh, yeah! Poison has your damage output. That's what it is. Now you know. And knowing is half the battle. The other half is guns. Okay, so now we're back here at the top of the marble corridor. Marble hallway? Yeah, the first time you enter an area, it tells you the name of it, and then the only time after that you can see the name of the area that you're in is actually if you save the game in a save point in that area, your save file will tell you where you're saved. So you'll have to forgive me if I forget the exact names of the areas that I'm in. So instead of going down here like we did before, We're actually going to go up this way. And everybody's favorite Castlevania enemy, the Flea Man. These guys are a pain. Thankfully, they only have a couple of hit points apiece. But frequently they attack you in large groups. Cutscene.
Wait a moment. You seem human, and yet, what do you here?
I've come to destroy this castle.
That's what I do here.
Then we have the same purpose. I'll trust you for now. I'm Maria. Who are you?
Alucard.
Not the talkative type, I can see. Well, perhaps we'll meet again, if you live that long. Farewell.
So you may be wondering, who the heck is this girl? That's Maria Renard. You might remember she was mentioned very briefly at the beginning of the introduction after you finished the fight against Dracula with Richter. And I mentioned during that fight that there's an extra little thing that happens if you actually manage to run out of health while you're fighting Dracula. A 12-year-old, I believe, Maria, runs out from the side of the screen, invokes the spirits, and gives you infinite HP and significantly enhanced power to fight Dracula. Maria was a character in Rondo of Blood, and I don't know the specifics. I haven't played Rondo of Blood much, because it's your classic arcade Castlevania. I'm not really very good at those. This is why I like to stick with Symphony of the Night and the other EGA-led Castlevania series, like the ones on the handhelds. But Maria is looking for Richter. And one of the other things that it says in the intro, but it doesn't quite give you all the details on, is that Castlevania shows up only 4 years after it had disappeared the first time. And it's supposed to only show up once per century. So something weird is going on. It showed up the same time that Richter went missing. And that's why Maria's looking for him here in the castle. Story. Yeah, you didn't think you'd be getting any story in this game, huh? Yeah, doesn't really have much of one, but what's there is fairly interesting. That clock room that I was in while I was talking your head off a second ago, that's actually a pretty important room in the game, but we'll be coming back there a few times. Nope. I want the holy water. I pretty much want the holy water for the rest of the game. There's a couple of times where I might want something different, but by and large, the holy water is the best sub-item. And as long as you can keep it, it's what you want to do. Yeah, you can see now, just running into that skeleton only causes me 1 point of damage, which is pretty nice. I was taking like 8 from them. Ah, here we go. Okay, so this is kind of cool. Oh, I can't show that off yet. So the pocket watch actually lets you do something pretty neat back in that clock tower room where we just talked to Maria, but you need the ability to get higher up. You need the ability to fly or turn to mist before you can get through there. Yeah, speaking of the intro, there was a brief section that mentioned Alucard was going into what should have been an eternal slumber. Oh, no, I don't want to come here. I actually kind of want the next save point. I'm still fairly fragile, so I want to save as frequently as possible, just so I don't have to go back and do all this again. Maybe I'm mistaken. There might actually be a save point here. Is there one here? Nope. Okay, so here's another magically sealed door. We need a special item to get through that one and the one that we saw back in the alchemy lab. Fight. I know I was saying something a minute ago, and I completely lost my train of thought, and you're going to have to get used to that. Because I just don't always have exactly the presence of mind to continue whatever I was saying, but you can rest assured that if I was saying something and I forget what I was saying, it was probably not important. So these are, in later games, these creatures are called Antispena, which is a legendary double-headed serpent. Yeah, this one always drops 250 right there in the middle between those two red angels. It's too far away to really farm it, though. You can't really easily go back off the floor. This guy's a pain. Okay. Oh, well, okay. So that's a stone rose, and they spit petrifying seed pores at you. But luckily the Basilard, I guess they're weak to slash damage or something. Basilard kills them pretty quick there. Oh, nope. Yeah. And there's the door. CD loading the next area. Alright. Outer wall. This area is pretty cool. Okay, so I mentioned before that the only sellable item in the game are gemstones. The zircon, that one right there, that's the first guarantee drop that we get of a gemstone. If you take a look at our inventory, you can see that they're actually equipable. These last two slots here are accessory slots. You can equip gemstones. They do literally nothing. Even the most valuable ones, they don't give you any kind of stat boost. They're just there to be sold. So I'm not really even sure why they gave you the ability to equip it. Zircon are worth, I think, 150 gold, and gemstones go all the way up to a diamond, which is worth, I believe, 20,000 gold. Alright. Blue axe armors. They function exactly like regular axe armors, but they have slightly more hit points. Not a big deal. Basilard just chews right through them. Boom, 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 boom. This outer wall section, it's another one of the more linear portions of the game. I could go down, and in fact I think I will go down to the bottom of the tower, but I want to go ahead and get this next boss fight out of the way. You can usually tell that you're in for a boss fight when you walk into a room like this, and there's a save point, and then a couple of, yeah, especially if you see something like this that looks like a doorway. This one looks like it's all been smashed through. Okay, so this fight is one of the few fights where the red rust can actually come in handy, so I'm going to go ahead and equip that. Just for the very beginning. This is a cool effect. Hey, it's me! Okay, red rust actually causes the poison status effect. So now my doppelganger here is not going to cause anywhere near as much damage as he would. So as long as he's got that kind of rain... Ooh, turned into a bat. What's that about? Oh, so poison's worn off, and go ahead. Yeah, this is going to be kind of a pain. Switch back to the red rest again. The cool thing is that it has a 100% chance to actually inflict the poison status. There we go. Easy peasy. Like I said, red rust is largely useful, but in this fight, it's pretty good. Once you get rid of your doppelganger buddy there pretty quickly, taking minimal damage. And you get a nice life max up. And it gets you the Gladius. It's a, yeah, Roman sword. It does bump up our attack power a couple points, but it's got the same problem the short sword had. It's a little bit faster, and it still can attack down, unlike the Basilard. I might keep this on for just a little bit. That extra reach is kind of handy. Okay, let's see if I can make this jump. It's kind of tricky. Wow! Hey! Life max up. Alright, so we're going to actually just go back down the way we came. You cannot make that jump until you get jumping ability over it. That's where we found the Zircon. So I'm going to go to the bottom of the tower first, and then go back up. Oh, and it's our old friend, the Medusa head. Yeah, these guys are pains in the butt. In every Castlevania game, they just fly randomly from the side of the screen. Oh, whoa, that was weird. I just kind of jumped in. And here at the bottom of the tower, you'll notice the tower was, the outer wall had rain before, and now it's all fog. So down there, there's a kestrel with its little nest. Yeah, it's pretty cute. Not much in here, just some money. But there's actually something kind of cool over here. You press up to interact. And you can look through this telescope. And you There's a fish jumping, and there's a guy in a boat. I wonder if that will be significant for later. Spoiler alert. Yes. Yes, it will. Oh. Mist could pass. That was weird. Did that Medusa head drop a dagger? It's entirely possible it did. I know Axe Knights can actually drop the axe sub-weapon. So we're going to do something kind of cool and a little bit cheaty here. Oh, that guy. Yeah. Okay. This is an Armor Lord, I believe they're called. They're very difficult, especially at this point in the game. But remember my little ghosty friend spell. I'm just going to chill down here and just attack him with ghosts while I'm out. Oh, I have to go around. Let's switch back to the Basilard. It's nice to be able to attack quickly against these Medusa heads. If I can get the chance to get up there. Oh, no, not quite. Oh, that only does a couple of damage per hit. Not the most ideal situation. Oh, but we still got him. Alright. So, those guys are pretty tough. They don't show up too frequently. Hey, empty room. One thing for this game, there is never such thing as an empty room. Yep. Mysterious wall pot roast. That might be all that's in here, you think. Here's one of the weirder secrets of the game. Let's just stand here. We'll just chat at you for a few seconds. Yeah, I don't have anything to say. Yeah, there's nothing to say, nothing important at all. But if you stand here for a little bit, something cool will happen. It's one of those things that there's really no way to know about this in advance. I mean, who would think to just stand here in the corner for 20 or 30 seconds waiting for something to happen? The sole hint that you get is that directly below you is a room that only Mist can get into. And that's about all the help you get. Okay. Do I have to hold down? I might have to hold down. Kind of like the kneeling at Deborah Cliff in Simon's Quest to get that tornado to show up and warp you to a place you have to go. Well, okay. Why is this not working? Do I have to be standing in the middle? I've actually never had a problem getting this to work before, so I apologize for taking a few minutes off your life, your precious lives, to watch me stand in a corner playing Castlevania. There we go. Alright. So you get this weird little purple elevator thing. And you have Jewel Knuckles and Mirror Cuirass. And that's where the Mist could pass. So this is a way to get two fairly powerful items much earlier than you would normally get them. When I'm playing for myself and I'm just playing for fun, I go ahead and equip. Yeah, see, look at this. Jeweled Knuckles jumps my attack from 16 to 28. It's nuts. And then the Hide Cuirass here only buffs my defense by 1, but it prevents you from being turned to stone. I am actually going to go ahead and equip that just because getting turned to stone is a pain. But I'm going to avoid using the Jeweled Knuckles for a little while because they do make the next section of the game, I think, a little bit too easy. So I'm just going to go ahead and keep the Basilard and Gladius kind of thing going. Just switch. Keep the Basilard for the most point. Even though it's been outclassed damage-wise by the Gladius, it still just attacks so fast. Yeah, just knife you in the face. It's so good. And it's not even... I would still have it at this point, even if I hadn't kind of done the little trick to get it a bit early. You'd still have it coming through this area. So it's quite powerful. You'll find as you go through the game that there's actually several weapons that become the weapon you will use for that portion of the game, barring getting certain random rare drops. There's just certain weapons you always find that outclass everything that you've come across at that point. And there's a few that you can purchase also. Hey, it's an elevator, but I can't get to it. We'll have to figure out how to turn that elevator on. What's this? A new area. The Long Library. This is an important area. I'm going to go ahead and come through here. We're not going to be able to clear the whole thing out yet, but we'll go ahead and do what we can. So these enemies are interesting. They're called Duron, D-H-U-R-O-N, by the fairy book in the game. But you'll notice that they're a one-headed enemy. Yeah. I'm not going through that way right now. I don't need to. They're a one-headed enemy. They carry their head in their arm and a sword in the other. And... oh, I got cursed. Getting cursed means you can't attack, but thankfully I got an uncursed potion. So here you'll see what I was talking about. You have to equip the potion, and then press the button, and then it, activates, and then you have to re-equip whatever you have in that hand. It's really a hassle. Thankfully, 2 of the chandeliers in here always drop uncursed potions, and those creatures, the ectoplasms, also randomly drop uncursed potions. So you're usually not in too much of a hassle. So the Duron enemy is actually a Dullahan from Irish and Celtic folklore. The knight, the headless knight who carries his head with him. But the translation of it got messed up. It's actually a Japanese pronunciation of Dullahan, Dullahan. So the translators were like, I don't know, Duron, I guess? So they just came up with Duron. And it's pretty clear that that's meant to be a Dullahan. There's not actually a Dullahan enemy in this particular Castlevania. They do exist in some other ones. Like there's one Portrait of Ruin that's, I think it's the first boss in that game too, but they do show up in other Castlevanias.
It's been a long time, old one.
Oh, it's you, Master Alucard. What do you need?
I need your help.
Young Master, I cannot aid one who opposes the Master.
You won't go unrewarded.
Really? In that case, just tell me what you need.
Wow. That dude buys off real easy. Let me tell you. So, I can't oppose one who goes against the Master. Oh, well, I'll give you some money. Oh, well, in that case, here you go. Yeah. So, sell gem. Like, we only had that one Zircon so far. But you see, here's the different levels of gems that you can get. Several of those, especially the most valuable ones, Garnet, Opal, Diamond, typically you only find those in set locations. But eventually there's an item you can get that gives you the very slim possibility of making an enemy drop these. But that's quite a ways off. Tactics, you can pay money to see how to beat a boss, but only a boss you've already beaten. I fail to see how that is any use to anyone. And it doesn't give you any actual, like, verbal tips. It just shows a pre-recorded scene of the ideally equipped version of Alucard fighting that enemy. So it doesn't really give you a whole lot to go on. It's largely a waste of your money unless you just kind of want to watch the videos. Enemy list here shows you all the enemies that you fought against. It also gives you a brief description. And if you notice there under drop items, it shows you their drop tables. Most of the time their drop tables are both, I think the first item, it always tells you what it is, but the second one is question marks until you actually get something to drop that item. Unfortunately, it does not tell you what the drop percentages are for anything, and some of these have obscenely small drop percentages. So if you wanted to go through and fill out this bestiary entirely by getting all of the drop items from every enemy, it could take you hours and hours of grinding to do that. I've gotten pretty close a couple of times, but then I just get bored, and I'm like, no, I don't need to do this. So, but it's kind of cool. You can see the bosses you fought. You get a little bit of description. So that's pretty cool. Most important thing here, though, is being able to buy stuff. Jewel of Open can open locked blue doors. Well, we definitely want that.
Thank you.
These are all one-shot items. They're not worth the money. Library card, however, is a very good one-shot item. I want to buy one of these for right
Thank
now.
you.
We don't want to go too nuts on our spending. Let's see, I forget what else I want to pick up. There's some pretty cool stuff that you can get here later. Joseph's Cloak actually lets you change the color in the options menu. It's riff on Joseph's amazing Technicolor Dreamcoat from the Old Testament. Castle Map. Yeah, I want that.
Thank you.
Magic Scroll 1. So here's the thing with magic. You might have noticed that earlier I was showing you how to do the fireball attack, and I was also showing you how to do the summon
Farewell
ghost.
for now.
So here's the thing with those. You've actually got where is it? Spells. Here we go. It shows you all of the spells that you figured out so far and how to do them and how much MP they cost. So you can see up and then quarter circle forward does Hellfire, left, right, up, down, summon spirit. Watch this. I'm going to do the spell that he was selling, Dark Metamorphosis. It's a half circle forward, back to forward, through up. So you'll see here in a second. There we go. Uses 10 magic points, heal HP by shedding blood. As long as you are using an edged weapon, any enemy that bleeds when you hit it will heal you if that blood splashes on you. It's a little bit tricky to pull off. It lasts for a fair while. Only heals you 8 hit points per splash. And you'll notice, like, fighting enemies like this, they're books, so obviously they don't bleed. They don't give me any healing. So essentially only organic enemies are really the only ones that you can get any healing from. So Dark Metamorphosis isn't always the best option. It can be pretty handy in some situations, though. You will find me using it from time to time. But just doing the spell unlocks it for your spell menu. So you don't actually have to get the spell from him. As long as you have the MP to perform it and know the button configuration, you can add the spell anytime to your spell sublist here. So I'm going to do a couple more spells here. You hold up for a few seconds and then rotate to down is Tetra Spirits. You'll summon 4 ghosts at once, and that's really good for clearing out areas that you can't reach. And the most powerful spell in the game is tricky to do. It's forward to back and then forward rotate to back. Let's see if I can... Yeah, I have a hard time pulling it off sometimes. If you can do it at will, which it takes me practice. Nope. Usually I wind up doing Hellfire instead. I may not even use it on this run. It used to be kind of a crutch for me, but now I've gotten decent enough at the game that I don't have to worry about it as much. Nope. I'm gonna try it occasionally, and you'll see what happens when I get it, because it's pretty ridiculous. All right, and the Fairy Scroll finally. Ooh, what are these guys? They are magic tomes. So with the Fairy Scroll, we finally have the ability to see what the heck it is that we're fighting. Whoa, they shoot weapons at you. It's freaky. Yeah, these are pretty cool enemies because they're actually three-dimensional. You can probably tell because they're a little jaggy looking. But oh, got cursed. That's fine. Just go through there. Speedrun Dockstash. There we go. Okay, so I'm going to do Dark Metamorphosis here. And you'll notice, see that? I heal 8 hit points whenever I kill one of these guys. Oh! And then I take 8 damage when I run into a Duron Sword. Yeah, see that D-H-U-R-N? I'm pretty sure that's supposed to be Dullahan. Duhallan. It's usually easiest to hit these guys when you kind of wait till after they do that and just hit them in the air. And what do we have here? We have the Bronze Cuirass, which is the same defense as our Mirror Cuirass. I'm going to go ahead and put that on because it's basically what we should have at this point in the game. I'm going to try and not use my little, let's get the Jeweled Knuckles and Mirror Cuirass really easy. Because it's quite a while before you get Mist Form and can actually legit get into that section. You know, and they let you get into it early. It's not like I'm clipping through walls or using some kind of advanced form of sequence breaking to really get in there. But I still just feel a little bit dirty just getting those Jeweled Knuckles and doubling my attack power. Alright, so let's get out of the library here. We just gotta go through a few more fights with these guys. Get that Uncurse potion in case I need it later. And back out. Alright, so I've been recording for quite some time now. I'm going to go ahead and hit up a save point. There should be one right ahead. Just above where we are on the map. It's a fair bit up there. Skeleton Ape. Similar to, but legally distinct from King Kong. I mean Donkey Kong. Keep getting my level ups. Bone musket. Okay, skeletons with guns. That's cool. Hey, I want that. Gimme, gimme. I can't have it. It was not meant to be. Where is the save point up here? Ah, not a save point, but something equally important. We come through here, we find a teleportation chamber. And if you go through one of these, the scorpion is the first one you find, and then you find this horse. What does that do? The horse takes you to a place we've been several times. You may have recognized this from video number 1. Get that heart max up. Way back here. At the very beginning of the castle. Back to save point number 1. Yep. We're going to stop at the same save point we started at. And that is this episode of Castlevania Symphony of the Night. Hope you enjoyed. Have a good one.